Welcome to a special installment of The Truth in This Art from Artscape 40. I am your host, Rob Lee, and this episode is brought to you by our sponsors, Verizon and Crust by Mac. Today, I have a special guest returning to the podcast. Not only is he a fellow Aquarian, he's a dynamic artist, composer, curator who's left a lasting mark on Baltimore's music scene. He will be performing on the North of North stage today, and his talent and vision are unparalleled. His impact has been felt across the community. So without much further ado, please welcome the extraordinary John Tyler. Welcome to the podcast.
Man, it's so good to be back. It's incredible to see you do that live because all of our interviews has been virtual thus far. So to see that live was iconic. I'm gonna save that in my mind forever.
Look, some people have said, look, I'm gonna snip this beginning. That's just gonna be my ringtone. I was like, you still make ringtones? This is wild. So I gave, some details about you, and we're here at Artscape. So I want to start off by giving you, if anything that I missed, giving you the space to introduce yourself and share with us like one of those like really early summer related art experiences. So if you will, please.
Oh, a really early summer art experience, just in general?
Yeah, like, we're here, it's August where we're recording this, and I find like you always see something, either you're going to music festivals, you're seeing like outside art, like Artscape, for instance, but what's something art or creativity related that you recall from the summer?
First thing that came to mind, I remember being like really young. This is the very first thing that came to mind. And the kids in my neighborhood, I'm from Hose Heights, and we always used to make up games. And there was this game we created called Freedom Box, which I haven't seen anyone else play. Yeah. And we used to do that in the summertime, and then the ice cream man used to come down our block before they robbed him, and he stopped coming. And we used to get, snow cones and a bunch of things. And that, when I think of summer, like that question immediately brought back to that memory, and I haven't really thought about that in a long, long time.
So you had ice cream.
yeah.
And give us sort of the intro, because I know like in the last year you've had some, it's always, each year there's always a new milestone. It's like you're doing the main mission and you're doing side missions. So give us that intro, because I gave, the one that sounds cool, I suppose, but I know I'm missing something. So give us that intro, please.
Yeah, I suppose I am a touring artist, composer. I write music for commercials and movies and documentaries, and I won an Emmy, which is a big thing, which I need to talk about more. I don't really bring that up a lot, but that's definitely a crazy milestone, and got to work with a lot of big companies like Under Armour and Oreos, and kind of be the bridge for artists and other curators to kind of be in those spaces, especially Black folks. I'm just a person who likes to change the world through sound. Whether that's through performances, whether that's through creating it, creating music, whether that's through collaboration, and just being with the people banging drums. I just love community and sounds.
Because I always, and thank you, when I talk to people and I mention I'm talking to you, one, they light up, and two, it's just like, when I say I'm talking to John, I'm like, multi-instrumentalist. I do that. I say that because, I always respect people who do multiple things. And I think that's an Aquarius trait.
For sure.
So, if you will, if you were to summarize it in sort of a very succinct way, this is a question that I've been asking a lot of folks. What is your art? And it feels deep, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. My art, if I were to summarize it across all the things I do, is kind of being a director and bringing things together. So, music-wise, as a, producer, like we have actually, I guess I'll announce it now, my festival has like a community album coming, and kind of being a person bringing these different artists together. And it has artists across the world. Like there's artists from Brazil, artists from London, artists from here, LA, and kind of being a person directing things and bringing things together and, you know, making a cohesive storyline. Just a person who just really just brings things together. And then on the curation side, of course, with the festival, you know, having local business folks there, you know, performing artists, visual artists, you know, other community organizations, whether that's Bike Party, Runners Run, the National Aquarium. Yeah, just bringing a bunch of things together. So I hope that summarizes it.
I had a conversation at the beginning of this arc with Michelle from Big Improv, and we were joking about being strategists. And I think that that's a trait, you know.
It is a trait.
It's there. It's just like, and you and I, we had a few long conversations during this time during Artscape. So you get a deeper sense of Rob outside of the context of doing these interviews. And I think being on this side of it, you know, being involved with Artscape in this way, both of us, I think it's a different, like in previous, and I'll get your take, but almost previously on X-Men, but previously, I've been involved as a attendee. And this is the first time being involved in sort of an archiver, sort of performer, and behind the scenes. My past is all access. So I'm accessing things. So talk about how you're involved in Artscape 40, this milestone year, and sort of what your previous experience was and how this experience perhaps differs from previous experiences with Artscape.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess now on day one of, you know, Friday, the 2nd, I believe, I was really involved with kind of being a shadow and helping with management and seeing how the entire flow of Artscape is and being part of every single department that manages, because there's a lot of moving parts. And, you know, I got to see how things are, how they run things and how they solve problems, because there was a lot of problems from like the stage being put in the wrong area to the rain to the person who's supposed to set up parking and not doing that and having to figure out the parking situation for staff and artists last minute. And that was like an incredible, you know, process to see, because my last time attending Artscape had to have been probably like 2018, because, you know, they were shut down in the pandemic. In 2019, I think I was somewhere else. And being there as an attendee, you would never know these issues that's happening, you know, what people are dealing with behind the scenes. So I have an amazing experience. So being on the other side of that and seeing all the things to make things go great has been a very interesting and, you know, moving experience, because, you know, Artscape, you know, has like 50,000 plus people who come out throughout the weekend. And I guess on the other side of it, as an artist, because I am performing today, I was gonna say tomorrow. Dang, that went by fast. It's very interesting to see, you know, how, because before when I performed at Artscape that was back in 2017. They had us on the grass in front of the Micah Brown Center building. Wasn't really a thing, horrible PA system, and, you know, now I'm with, like, you know, the production crew and, you know, all the things, and I feel like a major artist.
No, and that's a good distinction. I think a few things that I heard there is like being sort of behind the curtain and having that perspective of being in front of the curtain on the stage. It gives you different perspectives and sort of all the work that goes into it, and putting on a production is no easy feat.
And it is not.
And you have the background of collaborating with multiple people, you know, as far as your own work goes, your own festival goes, your own curation goes, but also seeing this, it gives a new perspective, and I would imagine appreciation for the effort and the moving parts that go in to something like this. And I'm really fortunate that we're able to chat before you go on stage. And I think you're one of the latter performances, wrapping and closing everything down. So when folks are leaving like Artscape 40, they have the John Tyler essence. They got that scent on them. It's like, I'm headed back, you know, I'm dipped in the Tyler essence. And so how in it, in being involved from, you know, the operation standpoint and, you know, kind of wrapping up everything with the performance standpoint, how are you able to navigate those responsibilities? Because I remember on Friday, you were running hair, you know, on fire, like, I gotta get here, this needs to happen. And definitely behind the scenes in the production of things and operations of things rather. And then You just hear just music happening outside. Everything is going well. So talk about balancing those responsibilities of prepping for your performance, during and all of the things you need to do for yourself as a performer, while being in operations and supporting the behind the house, if you will, behind the scenes.
Yeah, indeed. I was supposed to come yesterday.
Sure.
And I actually just decided not to come because I was like, I'm closing the show on this stage at the North Stage. I haven't really practiced guitar all week because was helping with this, and then we also have a big festival next week with the Oreos and Waterfront partnership, and I'm like the main person running everything. So I've kind of been booked by that, and by the time the end of the day comes, I'm like, I don't even want to, I just want to lay down, relax, shower, do nothing.
Yeah.
So then yesterday came, and I was like, you know what? Today is I need to take off this curation hat and just be the artist and kind of like really lock in, make sure I'm set, because I want to make sure it's a great performance and it's something that's memorable in a positive way.
Yeah.
And to be ready for that, because discovery doesn't get old.
Yeah.
So I also, people who don't know me who's going to see me, because there's going to be a lot of folks there, I'm sure, that's not going to know me. I want to leave a really amazing impression, and stamp on folks. So,
yeah. And that's a really good point, which leads into sort of this next question. And before I even get to it, I'll say sort of the standards, right?
Yeah.
Of like, we talked about this the other day, having a standard for how you operate. And, in many instances, you're sharing those stages here and performing, you're sharing this sort of capacity in space.
Mm-hmm.
One, you're in front of your neighbors, you're in front of your people.
Yeah.
So they're like, yo, that's kind of mid, bro. So you're like, I got to turn it up a little bit, and you got to show out a little bit. But then also you're on a stage with sort of your peers, and they're like, all right, you weren't preparing at all this week, bro. So It's that iron sharpens iron thing. And as you touched on, it's like discoverability. It's like when people see you, and it's like, oh wow, let me, Shazam or whatever, or let me look this dude up and let me see what was happening. And I think, sort of being in that Artscape stage, especially if it's the main stage, or even like, North and North where you're going to be at, Station North is one of those integral parts to sort of this arts and culture community, I think. I mean, where this podcast was born in that neighborhood, like literally 2 blocks down from the stage you're going to be performing on. So,
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So what role do you think like Artscape plays in like sort of shaping and contributing to Baltimore's identity as a like quote unquote music city?
Oh, that's a heavy question. That's a heavy question because I remember coming up in the city as a musician.
Yeah.
And being part of the scenes, a lot of local folks did not rock with Artscape in the music scene.
Yeah.
Because they weren't really, doing their due diligence of putting artists on. And actually, this is part of why we started Love Groove.
Yeah.
Was because of that, and also with the politics with AFRAM and the other local festivals that was happening. That was booking artists from DC and New York and LA. But like, we have a whole pot of folks who are amazing here. So now over the years, seeing them grow into really involving into like local folks, from not even just the music, the podcast, you've been on the podcast, if you look at the Artscape schedule and you see all the different venues they collaborate with now, and all the different music scenes, whether that's I think at the UB Blake they having like a hip hop cypher with Easy Jackson, and I saw another thing of like the indie rock music on Charles Street. I think it's becoming a big culture hub of showcasing what we are as a city from different scenes, and not just the club side, which I know is a staple and very important. But there's a lot of different sounds and spaces that happens here that's not talked about on a major level, and I think now they're getting really good at that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there has been this notion, this sentiment, because we do this blend, and literally I was having this conversation and being here on location, we're at Mount Royal Station, being here and getting to behind the scenes and talking to folks either right before or right after they've gotten on stage. getting that sense of like, yo, who's performing? What's it looking like? And it's like, oh, that's my cousin. That person's from East Baltimore. That person's from. It's like, oh, it's like 90% like Baltimore-related acts that are on that stage, whereas it didn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's more of a emphasis on showing sort of that concentrated local amount of talent that we have here, and that's been a trajectory and shift towards that programming. And I think there is sort of this other thing that happens where we're looking at, you have your headliners, you have like folks who aren't necessarily Baltimore artists per se, but maybe have been here, maybe have a relationship here, and have performed here at Artscape in the past, and they're coming back, so it's bringing some sort of regional, if not national attention to get eyes on sort of the local talent as well.
Exactly.
So I think that's a beneficial thing.
I agree. I think they're doing it in a really great, positive way, in a way that I'm trying to get to. But them national acts, they be pricey, boy.
Well, they're bringing in more eyes and ears.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think really giving attention to what we have here, because I think what we have here is excellent. And a lot of times it's like you get that extra energy. It's like folks are like, man, I'm on Artscape. I got to do this. I got to show out. So from your perspective, since we were kind of talking about, sort of what it was and sort of what that shift looks like, and, bringing in that blend of national and sort of those headliner acts with, the cache of local acts that we have here, what are, in your opinion, from your perspective, what are the defining characteristics of Baltimore arts and culture?
Ooh, the defining characteristics.
Because everyone has their perspectives around. I've heard the DIY thing. I've heard, man, it's so eclectic. And it's like, cool. So getting like sort of that overall perspective, I think is important. And you're a curator. You do so many different things. It's going to be very interesting to hear your take.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that, I would say experimental, because a lot of people here push boundaries, and whatever their genre is, it's a lot of boundary pushing, and of course the DIY, using the resources you have, recording. Like, a lot of things come out very unique because a lot of folks don't have access to the proper avenues to produce, the best high quality, Beyonce-like work.
Yeah.
In terms of quality, not like her sound. Yeah, I would say we're very bodacious. I feel like that's a juicy word.
It is a juicy word. That's one of those like SAT prep joints.
Yeah.
The bodacious John Tyler.
Yes. That's my new name. Put it on like a T-shirt now. I'm gonna sell merch with that. No,
you should. But I think you're right. That I think when folks get that opportunity to, they're putting in that work, and they're figuring out a lane that's very much theirs, and then they're able to maybe go to a larger stage and be around, as you said, the aforementioned 50,000 plus people. You're having the prospect of showing this and getting those collaborative opportunities, those networking opportunities, maybe a few streams or what have you, that kind of bumps up, that when that cool collaboration comes up or that opportunity to get that new piece of gear comes up, it's just like, oh, like I know for myself, I'm an independent podcast producer.
Yeah.
And there are folks that, by virtue of being here, they weren't scheduled for interviews. By virtue of being here, I was able to grab an interview with them. And it's like, oh, you're kind of a big person. How did I get you? And I mean, obviously, and then leveraging sort of relationships that I have. You've been on here 2 times already and able to get you in this capacity. Like you said, this is the first time we did it in the same room together.
Yeah.
And this is the first time getting it, like, you got that pre-performance aura kind of going on. You're like, I'm just waiting for you to swing a guitar from around your shoulder. I'm like, all right, John.
It's coming.
So this is sort of the last question that I have for you before I move to the rapid fire. Even this podcast gets the rapid fire.
I'm excited for it.
So in your opinion, what is the most significant impact that Artscape, has as far as like the local community, and both creatively and culturally? And I'm saying that from this perspective. You touched on it, that it was gone for a couple of years. It came back like last year, and this year it's the 40th installment, and this is like that milestone year. And I noticed at times it was kind of like almost a bit. I was like, I guess Artscape's too hot. I don't want to go and this and that. Almost like it was a hassle, but it's something about being here in this capacity and being able to have conversations like this. It feels culturally and creatively significant. It seems like everyone has this energy of, I want to see what they got. Because obviously, we've dealt with weather this year and last. And it just seems like, that Baltimore resiliency is there. But what is your take on sort of the cultural and creative significance of Artscape?
Yeah, and this is kind of behind the scenes. I think it's really significant on how much they trusted us. Because I've met a lot of folks on their team, and a lot of folks who I met aren't from here, or they don't live here. And the fact that it still feels very, us is incredible. And the fact that they, most folks do not put their money into the locals, like anywhere. So the fact that the city and Bopa and all of those just took a chance and was like, let's let them do their thing, I think is incredible. And I really find that very significant, because as someone who's seen nothing happen for like my entire life, to now see this, change is like really, really incredible. I don't know if that's the direction you want me to go in, but seeing, just being a part of the behind the scenes, like I just find that very significant.
Yeah, and I think I'll append to it, as we wrap up in this portion before the rapid fire, is that you touched on it also, of at a point, you, me, Larry What Up, we're all sitting at the table chopping it up.
Yeah.
In this capacity. This is the first time I've been involved. But Larry is Mr. Artscape, or what have you, doing his 40 days of Artscape, and then you're crushing it. And you were doing your own festival, and we're all brought here, all Baltimoreans.
Yeah.
All have been on the podcast. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but sort of all coming together in that acknowledgement of, I feel like we're here now. I think that's sort of that connective thing, like, wow, they reached out to me this time. They reached out to this person to do this, and seeing folks that I know. I've seen a lot of people that I know. It wasn't like I'm in a room filled with sort of strangers. Like, what do you do again?
Facts.
And so I think to the point, it feels very much like a Baltimore thing this year, especially in this sort of milestone year.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I even reconnected with my neighbor Pancho, who has a band called Knock Knock.
Oh yeah.
And growing up, I used to, he was known as like the whimsical, kind of goofy neighbor. He always had like, what do they call it where you connect it to your pants, the straps?
Oh, like the overall joints?
Not overalls,
suspenders.
But suspenders.
Yeah.
He always had the suspenders on, and he had like a big bass in his window. And I'd never seen him play until Friday, and we was just chopping it up, and I got to hear his whole career. And then running into Mother Queen, who I actually played with. I'm just remembering.
Yeah.
I did Artscape with her in 2019, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I was her guitar player. So I said I wasn't here in 2019 early in the podcast, but I just remember I was here actually, because I performed with her. And but I haven't seen her in like 2 to 3 years, and meeting DJ Quicksilver and all the folks, like it was literally Baltimore in here. For sure.
And I think you feel it, and that's the thing I'll say to sort of sum that up. I think really kudos as far as the behind the scenes, the outreach, and sort of the intent in the programming, all of that good stuff, because as I said, we're here.
Yeah.
So let me move into the rapid fire portion.
Rapid fire.
And as I said, as I always say, rather, don't want to overthink these.
Okay, I won't.
All right, so here's the first one. What is the most inspiring thing about like Artscape? Specifically this one, specifically Artscape 40.
I really love the art installations, and this is the curator John Tyler speaking. The art installations, the animals that they build, the giant Artscape sculptures. I love how everything flows. It really inspires me of what I want to take my festival and what I want it to be and where I want it to grow to. Looking at how everything is set up, the layout. Lately I've been really into learning about branding. And, I got to talk to the person who did the designs for everything, who did the stage design, the sculptures, the shirts, the flyers, the programming, all of that, and how it's like a cohesive brand. Watching that it really inspired me to like really get on my game and how to make a cohesive brand. But yeah, I know that's kind of unique and random, but
no, the branding's really tight this year too. I'll say that. I love the color scheme. I love this sort of layout.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yo, where can I get one of them pillows at? Like,
exactly. I'm saying.
Y'all selling those?
I want one.
And this is the last thing I got for you. And this is more macroly speaking. Is you've attended, you've performed before, and you're here at this milestone, Artscape 40. What is, in your opinion, the most uniquely Baltimore experience you've had in your time at Artscape? Like, we see different things. Sometimes it's like, yo, there's people are like, like going at it, like dancing, in the middle of like Charles Street. It's like, yo, is that? We're like, what are they doing? Is that bird flu?
Yeah, there was I walked past an artist. I didn't stay, but it felt like back when I was young, like 12, 13. There was like a club called Docks.
Oh, the Paradox, yeah.
Yeah. And there was like a part, I walked past this artist performing and how the DJ was yelling. It felt like 2012 to 2013, like that era of like the scene and the music that was playing through the streets and through the clubs. That I had a lot of nostalgia. I didn't stay for it because I had somewhere to be, but I had a lot of nostalgia from that era.
It's the feeling.
Yeah, over 10 years ago.
It's the feeling. You pass the thing, you're like, I know that. What? And I've seen that there's been those instances and those attempts by having, as we said earlier, having sort of us here.
Yeah.
It's like folks are like, well, this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in sharing, sort of our stories on this stage, and let's do this sort of history of club music thing. Let's bring that back, and having many of the folks who were founders of that in different stages throughout. It's just like, oh man, let's take it back.
Yeah.
And that feels really good.
Indeed.
So those last moments, there are two things I want to do. I want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with me during this busy Artscape weekend.
Thank you.
And two, I want to invite and encourage you to share with the folks where to check you out on the socials.
Yes, thank you for that. You can check me out at John Tyler Sounds, and that's across, X, which is crazy, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
My man went LinkedIn.
I just made one. I was told that's where business gets done, so I was like, all right, I'll see.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's true because I actually messaged the vice president of Disney, and he responded on LinkedIn. So
he's like, I know John Tyler. I have his last album. He's like, I am John Tyler.
So and you can also follow Love Groove at Love Groove Fest across everything too, and you also visit JohnTylerSounds.com.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank John Tyler for coming on to the podcast and sharing a bit of his experience and insights at Artscape 40, as well as my presenting sponsors, Crust by Mac and Verizon, for making this possible. So I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, and community in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.